Hello, Kelsay. How are you?
Hey, I'm good. Thank you.
Good, good. I'm so glad you're here today. So,
Yeah.
would you mind introducing yourself?
Well, I'm Kelsay Young. Um, yeah, just a normal person. I feel like don't really
Hmm.
feel special at all, but um, yeah, I was a worker for 17 years, and now I'm trying to figure out life. So that's
Hmm.
me.
That's you. That's great. Well, thanks for being willing to share a little bit of your story. And I know we're all so unique and we're all in this very upended learning phase of life. So, I resonate with that. Just a normal
Yeah.
person figuring it out.
Yeah. So, what would you like to hear?
Well, I would love if you wouldn't mind giving a little bit of I know a lot of my childhood informs where I am as an adult and my feelings about
Yeah.
my process and where I come from. I don't know if that's somewhere that you would like to start.
Yeah. Well, so I'm one of four in the family, and grew up going to meetings. Um, we had union meeting when I was a boy in the home, and then that was changed. Probably was still in my teenage years or preteen years when that was made a Sunday morning. And actually, I remember that visit how Sidney Holt came, and he was the overseer at the time, and he came and asked my dad about it. And my dad, I love my dad. He's a good man, but he was a farmer and trucker and busy all the time, and so Sydney kind of he asked about the meeting and if Dad would be willing to have a Sunday morning meeting,
Hmm.
and Dad started crying, and I remember that, and he just said, "I don't feel um, able. I don't feel like um, I'm worthy, kind of." And
Mm.
so I just remember that, and I like father like son, and that I guess in a lot of ways that I've never really felt like I'm somebody special, and that you're kind of over your head with a lot of things in life. Um, anyway, so yeah,
Mm.
grew up. I have several family members that have been in the work. My sister is currently a worker, but when we were kids, I was a super shy boy, and like I remember going to McDonald's and wanting ketchup for my fries, and mom would have to like be like,
Mm.
"Go up there and ask," because I'm so afraid.
Mm.
And so
Yeah.
that's kind of who I am. Just I grew up in the farm and in the
Hmm.
countryside, and um,
Hmm.
so it wasn't a natural thing for me to um, put myself out there, and it still isn't. Like this is
Hmm.
not.
Yeah.
I don't know how to say that other than yeah, it's not super comfortable,
Yeah.
but
Yeah. I hear you.
um, yeah.
Yeah. So, did your parents
So
ultimately take the meeting?
they did, yes, yes. So we had a Sunday meeting then, and my dad actually currently um, they've got meeting there,
Hmm.
and yeah. So dad, as a boy, dad was working hard, working long hours, but we had a good family. Mom stayed home. I just feel very thankful for my upbringing.
Hmm.
Mom had her work cut out for me trying to for her trying to raise me and
Mm.
the rest of us as well. I think I was
Mm.
probably the
Mm.
hardest one to. She told me once she couldn't really feel. She felt like she couldn't get through to me with a lot
Oh,
of things. I kind of
interesting.
independent, um,
Yeah. Yeah.
but we. we had close by the Post Falls Convention grounds, and
Okay.
so growing up, we had workers in the home all the time, and I loved that, and I loved
Mm-hmm.
um, a lot of good memories of meeting.
Mm-hmm.
At the same time, there were things that happened, and just knew that it's
Mm-hmm.
not perfect. I'm
Mm-hmm.
not perfect, and none of the people are not perfect. And I remember, like, at a preps one time, seeing two brothers get in an argument, and
Mm-hmm.
because we were pretty close there, we saw the human side of workers. They weren't like way set apart. We
Yeah.
saw, but all my memories were were good.
Mm-hmm.
And so, actually, at about 7 years old, um, at a convention, I actually don't remember much about it, but I felt like I should profess. So,
Nice. Yeah.
so I did, and mom had me go talk to the worker who was going to have the meeting, which happened to be Mark Huddle.
Yeah.
And she actually said that she was kind of planning to dissuade me from doing it. Like, she felt
Okay.
like I was too young,
Mm-hmm.
but something about the way I answered made her feel like like I should just keep my hands out of this. And so I didn't know much about what it meant other than, for me, I just wanted to follow Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
really, I feel like that's that's kind of where everybody starts to really have a relationship with God, is just that when it goes past um, the social things, doing it because you're supposed to, all of that,
Mm-hmm.
and just like, I want to know God, and I want to do what I'm supposed to do, whatever that is.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's where, so I look at that as like, yes, I had no idea what I was doing
Mm-hmm.
yet. Um, yeah, it's
It was
a
very
kind of
genuine.
a start that yeah, and I'm thankful for it. I feel like that kept me out of trouble. I kind of have actually a tendency to get in trouble. So,
What's it like? You talk about being someone that doesn't even like to go ask for ketchup. What's it like being told to go talk to a worker who's having the meeting that you're going to profess in?
mom was there with that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was, and yeah, there was definitely, in spite of being close to workers and having workers over all the time,
Mm-hmm.
there's just this, um, I don't know, they workers can kind of be scary,
Yeah.
and some more than others, but probably most all of them. And I remember a couple sister workers in particular that I knew they cared about me, and they were just like, there was a great love
Mm-hmm.
that I felt, and so they would be easier, but just who I am as a person, it was none of
Mm-hmm.
that's easy, right?
So then you become a worker. Do you mind sharing a bit about your process of what that felt like, what that, how that came to be?
Yeah, um, so when I was like 15, I started feeling like I should be baptized, but
Okay.
I really didn't know what that was, and so I was actually told to give it more time, which I feel like was good for me, and so then it was like around 17, it was before I had graduated high school, and I had a little lawn care business, and so I was there doing that, and we are out on a farm, and my brother was his job was to change the irrigation pipes, and so I came back from mowing the lawns in the day, and my brother was there in the driveway, and he stopped me, and he said, "The irrigation pipes have blown apart, and
Mm.
I need your help." And so I told him, like, I used to do that all by myself all the time, and I'm not helping you. You need to just be a man and do it.
Mm. Mhm.
And I wasn't that nice about it. And
Mhm.
my dad, he heard, and he just was like, "I'm tired of this. I'm tired of your attitude." And he's going to stay here, and you're going to go out and change the pipes. And so
Mm.
I was mad, and I would just, I was in some of it's just late teens,
Mhm.
as a guy going through all of those things that happened. But
Yeah.
the home life at that point was kind of a constant fight, and
Mhm.
and I was at the cause of that.
Mhm.
I feel like, and so that was the day where um, it all kind of came to a head.
Mhm.
And so I pedaled out there, and I was getting this stuff all fixed and slamming it together, and I just had this feeling like I'm supposed to have peace, and I'm supposed to have joy. I knew that was what God had promised, and I knew that was, and I felt like I don't. In fact, I felt like I have this monster inside me that is, um, like, I was worried about getting kicked out of the house, actually,
Mm.
because I knew it was just not good. And
Yeah.
so I kind of came to the end of myself, and I just, out in the field alone, I prayed that, if God would give me peace, then I'd be willing for whatever He asked. And
Mhm.
I felt like I needed to make that clear. So the worst thing that I could think of, I was like, I'll be
Mhm.
willing for those. So
Mhm.
I, if you'll give me peace, I'll go into work,
Mhm.
and if you give me peace, I'll and this is what you want, I'll go overseas in the work. And I tried to
Mhm.
think of like the worst places I could think of. So I said, I'll go to Siberia, Russia in the work, and I'll go
Yes.
to Cambodia.
Mhm.
And I don't know why I picked Cambodia, but anyway, so God gave me peace, and
Wow.
it was like a flood of, and I it was like I knew it was an answer
Mhm.
from Him. And so
Mhm.
then it's like, well, I have it inside me. I knew that, but I just had gotten in a fight with Dad, and so now I've got to go back and try to make that right. And so I was going back home. I think I was walking my bicycle back at that time, and I see Dad coming towards me, and he was crying, and he said, "I'm sorry for," and it was like God not only gave me peace, but He just, the whole situation, and between my dad and I and everything. And so
Wow.
that wasn't like that wasn't that I had to at that point. It just was that I was a complete willingness. Whatever God wants, I'll do it. And
Mhm.
and so I didn't really know, but then I felt like every time I was in a place where I felt like God was close, it was like this little knocking on my heart. Um, like, remember your promise. That's what I want. And so I fought that for probably 4 years or something. And
Mhm.
so I offered then eventually. Mark Huddle was the overseer at the time. And I paid off my college debts. I worked construction as a framer and then started in the work in 2006. Um,
Mhm.
and so then I was in the work for 17 years total. One thing that happened then, this was in the end of 2014. So I'd never told anybody about that time in the field. I would maybe say I would tell them about praying, but I didn't ever say where I had offered. And so in 2014, I got a message wondering if I'd be able to come to Cambodia.
Wow.
And that was the place that I had said that I'd be willing for. So I anyway, that was kind of a surreal thing,
That is.
but I felt especially in that time that like God sees me,
Yeah.
and I always, yeah, I struggle with faith, um, but like that was powerful, and it
Yeah.
still is. Like there's coincidences and everything, but I just know, and actually, then when I was over there, I felt if once I was there, like in the first week, I just felt this close comfort that I see you,
Mhm.
and I'll help you.
Mhm.
So so yeah, that was 2015. I actually arrived on my birthday in February, and was there for 7 months, and then came back, and then I had 5 years up in Alaska, and then I came back for a little while and went to California.
Mhm.
And it was in California that I, well, it was actually before I started having these migraines, and they were getting pretty intense and getting worse and worse. And so my face went numb in one of the migraines, and I decided I better go to see a doctor. And so they did all these scans and everything. They've found a couple things that they're monitoring, but they're not really concerned about. And the doctor, just the neurologist, she's a very good neurologist. She just told me, um, I think it's your life.
Mhm.
I think it's the stress of your life, and I think you need a new career. And
Mhm.
so I was like, not going to let a doctor tell me what to do, but but it became like I couldn't function. Actually, I was having them twice a week, and they were like spend the whole day in the dark room.
Mhm.
So that was all happening right before Dean and all that news came out.
Mhm.
And yeah, then so then that news came out. I was with a couple brothers working on a little project when we found out about that, and we were all three of us were just torn apart. And um, one of them still in the work, the other one's not either. Um, but yeah, it was just very hard. And part of that was like right before I had come to California, I'd been with Dean. It was like 2 weeks before he died, and I was there I shook his hand at the workers picture and talked with him just briefly. And it was like I always felt like he was strange. I didn't understand him, and yet I had no idea what was actually happening. And it's the
Yeah.
more the more I know, it's like terrible, terrible. Um,
Hmm.
and then it was like, of course, as you know, as it's just kept going. And anyway, so that happened with Dean. We found out about that. Then I was at Casa Grande Preps, and more. It was like we're getting more and more emails,
Yep.
And one of those was about Mark, who was my overseer for the 16 years or whatever previous, 15. And that was also crushing because I had had such respect for him. And to find out again that there was, and um, they're all, of course, everyone is different, but I just, yeah. And so you're dealing with all of that, also the health thing. And then, so we finished convention, and I took a little time, and then we went to my field in Orange County.
Hmm.
And at that time I was with there was three of us. And so one of the brothers got sent um, up to Canada for conventions, and the other brother has some health limitations and we weren't able to travel together. And so I felt very like unsafe. Like it was, I'm supposed to be moving around right now with all of, and alone, like, and it was in a new field. A lot of people but I just like, this is not. And um, so I went to where I had been before, um, the year before in the Palm Springs area, and I stayed with some for a week, and then I would just come for the meetings.
Mm.
Um, and then I was going to the next week. I was going to go up to be with my cousins for that whole week, and it was in that time that my dad called as I was on the road, and he told me his story that he's a victim of.
Oh man.
And um, so then he asked me about the man because he had heard that he was in California, and the man um, was in a neighboring field and had Sunday meeting in his home. And so I was involved then to take the meeting out of the home of the man that molested my father.
Oh my goodness,
So it
Kelsay.
was just
That's
so,
heavy stuff.
and that was just that's the right thing to do, no question. It it was just all heartbreaking, all of it. And there was a couple other things that just made me crash. So I crashed bad
Hmm.
emotionally, um, and I wasn't really able to see people for a little while.
Yep.
Um, and yeah, so I stepped away. Um, Sorry, my washer just finished.
All good.
Um, so I crashed then out of the work, and so I wasn't like, it wasn't that I stepped away because of feeling like everything was wrong. But then as I was out of the work and kind of able to look back at my time and things that happened and trying to, like, I think all of us that have had a connection to this church, life's been turned upside down. It's
Mhm.
like a
Mhm.
lot of things that we thought were true, you find, and people are reacting to it differently, and some maybe don't want to believe it, and so they just don't, and and I can understand why that is, but it's real, it's true.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, anyway, so yeah, that was what happened. And then I worked for a little while doing construction in the California area, and I kind of bounced around a little bit trying to figure out what to do and what's next. And then I landed here in Casper. Someone offered me a job here that seems like could be a good career, so that's what I'm pursuing at the time. But I still have that same, like, I know that I promised I'd be willing for whatever God asked of me, and so I still keep that in the
Mhm.
forefront. Well, one thing that happened too, I wrote that letter, to an open letter to the hurting,
Mhm.
and it just, I feel so bad for people, for the evil people have experienced at the hands of the ones I should have been able to trust. Like,
Mhm.
and and I wish that would stop. I wish it would, and I want it to stop. Um, but it's just, I have seen that, and maybe for some reason, people have felt comfortable to share with me. Um,
Mhm.
and so I wrote that letter, and it was like I got so many responses, people telling me their story, just um, and when it's somebody a long way away that I've never met, it's like it's tragic and it's hard to hear, and I believe, but I don't know them. And
Mhm.
what really hurt is the people that I know their life, and I know that they are honest, true people who have been hurt by the ones they should have been able to trust in, and it's like,
Mhm.
I don't know. Maybe that's given me a different perspective on things because of um, hearing all those stories, and my own personal story. Any of this stuff with child sexual abuse or sexual abuse, it's such a terrible thing that no one wants to talk about it, including the people, the victims, especially maybe. And so it's no wonder that it's been hidden, because people don't. It's very hard to share that, and there's all these things that you know all this,
Mhm.
but there's all these things that, yeah, like I have a friend that in his 40s told me that of his story, and I mean, I know a lot. There's been quite a number that are shared with me, and um, never have told anyone. And when my dad had called and told me, I was the first person he told.
Wow.
My mom didn't even know that had
Wow.
happened, and so he's in his late 60s, and this has just been, yeah, yeah, and
Mhm.
it affects everything. Um, so the damage is just so high and
Extensive.
terrible.
Mhm.
Yes, and it's like it's not just. it's terrible enough for the victim, the person who's been damaged. That's terrible, but the damage doesn't just stop there. It goes,
Hmm.
um, and what's really hard is when it's someone who should be the complete opposite, who should be a shepherd, should be a protector, should be, um, and that's been really hard for me personally. Of like, I was giving my all and my best to this, and I'm not a perfect person by any means, but I felt like I was among honorable men and trying to be an honorable man myself, and it's just hard to reconcile the lives that have been lived in plain, like, the double. Yeah, it's difficult.
Hmm.
It's difficult for
Hmm.
us.
Yeah,
So
a lot of that resonates so deeply with me because finding out about certain people that you've trusted and you thought them to be honorable,
yeah,
the feeling of betrayal is so deep,
yes,
especially when you're the one
it is.
that you're trying to live that honorable life and you realize that not everybody's playing by the same standard.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I would say that the secondary betrayal that people have felt, and that I also do, is okay. We can maybe accept that there's evil in the world, and I don't like that, maybe this is just reality.
Hmm.
People do terrible things, but then it's like, well, shouldn't there be someone to make the right choice afterwards to keep it from happening, or to be a protector, to be and to find out then, talking with old sister workers, um, that these stories of being told about the conscious effort to bury it by the ones in responsibility,
Yeah.
and that's another level of betrayal that is just, yeah, it's hard. It's so hard
Hmm.
for people. And I feel like, so I being in the work, I understood we're all human. We're not like some, um, angels. We're not no one is. We're all human. um, no workers above. They're just have the same things. But um, some people, I think, have their experience has been that the workers are just so, like, God gives them uh, special blessing and ability, and maybe in a measure that there's truth to that, but the trust that is given has been it's dangerous, and it's allowed harm to keep happening. So
Hmm. Hmm.
yeah. Well, like, I was out of the work then after I crashed, and I'm trying to put things together, and also at the same time, hearing from all these people, and um, so I still was involved with some of the, like, I wasn't shunned because I had crashed. I wasn't like, I still was kind of like just a resting worker. And so when um, the decisions were being made about policy in Washington, I was included in that, and I was able to have a voice, and I shared my feelings, and um, yeah, was I still have I would say a good relationship with Daryl Doland, who's now
Mhm.
overseeing. Um, but then what happened was they were working on a policy, and they got friends and professionals to help with this policy. And so then that was released, and we all had a chance as workers to look it over and everything. And ultimately, the it was rejected, and essentially Daryl made the call on that, and I felt like um, we we don't have a monopoly on the Spirit of God, and it's okay to trust people who are praying, they're seeking after God, they're wanting to. And yes, this might not be the perfect. It might initially not be the perfect thing, but I had this feeling like God is working in His people and amongst His people, and we have to have the humility to let that happen instead of like just taking hold and being the authority. And so I was kind of in the middle of that, right? Like
Mhm.
I didn't feel like that was the right choice to just reject this policy, even though it wasn't perfect. I felt like I could see some issues with it. Yet it came down to either I um, keep myself free to have a relationship with God and do what He asks, or I accept the authority of another man to be and just go with that. And I feel like that's um, this whole system of the workers and overseers, that's what it does is like well, the overseer said that this is, and he's close to God, and so we'll all just accept it. Like there's this feeling that they are more able to be spoken to, and
Mhm.
I don't know if we are really conscious of that almost, but it's just like um, yeah, and so I felt like, well, I know these men, and I I know they're not perfect. I'm not saying I'm better,
Mhm.
but I need to be able to just live to have a relationship with God and to do what He asks. And yeah, so that's where it became this. And I wrote to the staff, actually the Washington staff, and just said like I felt like the door has been swinging shut, and it just clicked closed
Mhm.
for me to be
Mhm.
back in the work. And there's a lot of things that I felt like we don't have, that we're missing honesty and humility about to, and I'm sorry about that. Like, um, yeah, and I can't go along with some of those things. Like, and some of them, like they're not. This is kind of one of them, but and it's just an example, and it's kind of in a way a dumb example, but it's this sort of thing throughout. Like, if you have a beard as a man, that you might get talked to, and some staffs, the overseer does not allow that, and so it's like, well, wait, but Jesus would have,
Mhm.
and Moses and Aaron, like, would you reject them? that this doesn't, this is your idea. If you could show me scripture that makes that absolutely clear, that's one thing. But if it's just your idea, then this is a religion of man. It's not, has nothing to do with spirituality. It has nothing to do with the relationship with God. And there's so many things like that. Um, when Mark, um, when Mark, when that all came out, they had a workers meeting with that, and three or four overseers that all came and talked with the staff. And one of the questions that the staff had was, and this wasn't me that asked this, but someone asked, why? What about the married ministry? Because we read that Peter had a wife, and if we have honesty and we read the scripture, that shows up, and it's like there's no workers that are married. So why not? And the answer was, it's not unscriptural, but it's inadvisable. And so it's like, okay, I can see where it would have some issues. It's not a perfect thing either, to try and, but are we saying that what Jesus did was inadvisable? Like, my feeling is that everything Jesus asked was perfect, and everything he did was perfect. He's the perfect Lamb of God. Like, we should trust him. And so, why is that? And then interestingly, then when you start wondering about that, and it's like,
Yeah.
why does, so when Paul writes about that, it's in 1 Corinthians 9. He says that he's under examination for whether he's even an apostle. And Paul was not traditional. He was not like, they didn't. And so people were like, who is this guy? And so he answers that, and he said, I'm under examination for this. And one of the things he's under examination for is, why aren't you like Peter? Because Peter has a wife. And so he addresses that in that chapter. And it's not Peter, but just Peter, but it's the brothers of Jesus and others. So that's five
Mm-hmm.
that we know of. But it was such a strong question that they questioned whether Paul was an apostle because he was a single man.
Right. Yeah.
And it's like, this is completely upside down. We're like, can we just have some honesty when we read these things? And that, yeah, like,
Mm-hmm.
that to me was what I remember. This is maybe 5 years in or something in the work. I just had this, like, I want to be true. I want this to be real. I want to be genuine. And um, like, I remember somebody saying, he said, if that man tells you there's polka dots on the top of that telephone pole, you don't have to climb up there and look. They're going to be there.
Huh.
And like, that was that's the kind of person I want to be, that kind of honesty. Like, um, and so, yeah, that's led me through all this. Like, please just have some honesty with these things. And when you start looking for honesty and trying to have it myself, there's things like, so we have these convention grounds. Is that church property? Well, can we be honest about it? And some of those things we so yeah. Anyway, that's kind of, I feel like I'm on a monologue here, but
No, you're not, because
that's
it's so
been that's
true.
been where it was. And yeah, it's just the feeling I've had is, I need, if I'm going to be a true apostle or prophet or whatever, even just a child of God, if that needs to be real, I need to be honest about it. And so then that means any lie that I tell, it instantly makes me false. Any message I tell that's got a little bit of lie into it, it's wrong. It makes me false. So then let's look. So then when you do that, it's like I don't trust myself because um, I have like motivations behind things that sometimes I'm hardly even aware of. Um, and I definitely now, especially, I don't trust other men. Like I found out that there's been all these secret lives lived. Why should I just take it at face value and like, okay, we have all these overseers that have misbehaved, but I'm supposed to trust that the rest of them are completely God led in every decision they're made. I can't do that. I can't. But there is one that I can trust, and that's Jesus. And that's where it's like so clear to me that um yeah, that Jesus is the only, he's the way, he's the truth, not us,
Mm-hmm.
not me, not anyone. It's just Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
And I find that to be like beautiful and comforting. Like, yeah, yeah.
Absolutely. I agree with that so much, Kelsey.
Anyway,
And so so here you are in Wyoming. Are you are you feeling like, well, maybe I should phrase it this way. Are you experiencing relief for your medical health? Like, oh, I don't, that's too personal, Kelsey. I don't really want to ask you that. But I just hope you're being well taken care
no,
of.
it's okay. It's okay.
I hope you're being well taken care of.
Yeah, yeah. The company that I'm working for is a nationwide company, and they have pretty good benefits. And so this is the other part of it. Um, I had all those migraines. They were twice a week, um, and they were getting worse. And it was stress. It was stress.
Hmm.
And since like I'm in this new job, I'm learning all this stuff. It's like pretty intense,
Hmm.
but I don't have migraines, and it's stressful, but it's a different kind of stress. It's not the same as this dissonance inside of things, and then trying to be fit into the images that everybody else is putting on you. There was that side of thing. Then, like for me personally, um, moving house to house uh, every other night was hard. Um, and people talk about like outreach and why the workers don't do enough outreach. And I feel like, yeah, I could have done more, and I tried, but while I was in work, but when you're moving around all the time like that, you just, I didn't have the bandwidth for it. Like I was,
Hmm.
um, yeah. So there's a way that the current modern worker life to me is unhealthy, and I'm not sure that it's what Jesus planned. Um, like I don't, I don't think it is because of the fruit and my own experience in it of like I'm an empathetic person. I've realized that I'm pretty sensitive to how other people are. So when you're in the home, some of my coworkers, they wouldn't see the struggles of people, or they wouldn't feel that, and sometimes they would be the cause of those struggles.
Mm-hmm.
And um, here I am, like trying to be a balm, and yeah, that was very stressful, and
Yeah.
it became unlivable. And actually, um, I feel like God pulled me out of the work, um,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm actually thankful for it, because there have been some beautiful things. Like I um, have so many people that I love
Mm-hmm.
because of my time in the work and being close to them, and um, yeah, this shared fellowship and bond. It's such a beautiful thing when it's right. Um, yeah, but yeah, that's the longer answer. That I'm doing pretty well,
Mm-hmm.
and we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. Kelsey, it's such an incredible story. I can see so much of your character and so much of your honesty and your goodwill. And it just it fills me. It encourages me because there's so much of that that is what I loved so much about this church. And you talk about there at the end about
Yeah,
when fellowship was right and when the relationship was genuine, it was incredibly beautiful. That resonates so much with me because that's why
yeah,
I loved this
yeah.
church for so long.
Right. I know. Yeah, and it's a grief then to feel like to sort through, like what was real, what is real, like,
Hmm.
and so then people, I've had people ask me if I'm going to meetings, or that they're curious about that, and everybody's got their reasons. Like some,
Hmm.
well, we want to put people in boxes, and I
Hmm.
feel like, well, being a man named Kelsay, um,
Hmm.
which is typically a girl's name, I'm pretty comfortable. I've grown up not fitting the box,
Hmm.
and so, like, I've gone to meeting. I don't believe that meeting is the only way for people to be saved or to have a relationship with God. I have not believed that. Um, but fellowship is a beautiful thing, and the meeting in a home is a beautiful thing. And I look at, like, First John. That book has been really really special to me, and he writes with that, like, um, he said, we want to have fellowship. We want we want I'm writing this so you can have fellowship with us, and truly our fellowship is with God and his son. And
Hmm.
that is so valuable to me, like that shared, um, when that's the reality. And I don't think so. The kind of um, side thing with that is, we can look at the life of Dean Brewer, and he went to meeting for years and years. He went into work. He became an overseer. And yet, if someone asked me, would you trade places with him? No, I don't. I know I'm not the judge of where people go, and I don't want anyone to be in hell, but I would not. Yeah. So anyway, here he was in this place of, like, you can't get any better, and yet I question whether he even knew God because of the actions that he took in his life, the way he lived his life. It's like, this is not what a child of God would do. And so you can be as in the system as possible and miss everything. And at the same time, and this is scriptural as well. Jesus, or Judas was that way. And yet at the same time, you can be unknown by all the ones that are in and know God, and He knows you,
Mm-hmm.
and um, that's beautiful to me. And like, yeah, so that's where I don't really care if someone's in or out. I don't. What I want is, and I kind of hate that phrasing, but it's just commonly used, I guess. But
Totally.
um, what matters to me is that we get the promise that God has for us, that this prepared place that Jesus told us about, and I want everyone to be there. I want I want you and I to be there, and I want the person at the gas station, the guys I'm working with. Um, it doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
So there's this weird like rejection that some people are and I just don't feel okay with that. Of like, well, you've quit going to meetings, or you're uh, no.
Mm-hmm.
Let's like keep it about having a relationship with God,
Mm-hmm.
and that's real, and
Mm-hmm.
making it to heaven, to have the promises that He's made. Like, that's what matters.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where I'm at. Like, I've gone to meetings. Some of that, as well as I think of Jesus telling us to love our neighbor. And so my neighbor is just like, right now, I'm in an apartment building. They're like right over there and right down there. Uh, and so they're just the people close to you. So I've lived, um, I've lived and been given this church of people I've grown up with, and I felt called by God to be in the work, and those are all the people that are close to me.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to love, because actually I feel like I can't help it almost. Like, yeah, I I I have so many friends that they are struggling and have, with just what's happened. They're struggling with the reality we've all come to see, or we're learning about, and I love them. Like, it doesn't matter what choices they're making. Like, I just want, whatever happens through all this, I feel like the hope is to have this beautiful end,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and along the way, to be to have a beautiful fellowship with each other. I feel so fortunate, honestly, to be like, um, I feel rich in my heart because of God, because of Jesus, and because of what they've done for me. Like, yeah.
The thing that I love so much is it feels like your whole story is tied together because at the beginning you talk about feeling seen by God and feeling like He heard you and He heard your promise and He saw you in that moment. And then as you've told your story, you talk so much about humility and love and service and taking care of your neighbor. I feel like all of that is the core of having a relationship with our Father. And I think that's the thing that's the consistent
Hmm.
in our life is we're going to go through all these experiences and you've explained some of yours today, but the thing that's true and the thing that's consistent is him seeing us and us loving one
Yeah.
another because
Yeah.
we're seen by him.
Yeah. Yeah. And we can have all these, I mean, we're social people, and we want to fit in, and we can build these walls about like who we are and everything. And it's like, no, God sees past everything. And like when Jesus was walking the earth, he would say that, like, I see, he would see people really for who they were.
Mm-hmm.
And to realize that, like, he knows everything about me. And he knows, like, there's actually some darkness in, I think, every human. Like, and
Mm-hmm.
I've fought with things myself. Um, yeah, and some of that, even like through finding out, like, I really struggled with. Um, I don't even know how to say this, but I just wanted to beat someone up.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to, like, it was such a betrayal to that yeah, and I really struggled knowing that, like, I don't feel like that's how God feels. Um, but yeah, the darkness inside, and so God sees that. He knows, here I am, full of flaws, but he has loved me. He enough to give his son for me, and
Mm-hmm.
it's like hard to believe and incredible and beautiful and true.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it's like, um, I think that with everyone, like, sometimes people that have gone through these terrible things and um, been a victim of evil, they can take it and feel like they're um, flawed and broken, and and maybe children especially can feel that, trying to deal with all this. And here's this person that's supposed to be godly and is respected, and so I must just be broken. And it's like, but God loves you. He gave his son for you. Like, he sees something in you that's beautiful and worthwhile. and
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, so that's what I just feel like sharing, that whatever happens, um, for me in the future, like, I know that's true. I know that the story of the love of God and grace given for me, like, when I didn't deserve it, it's real, and it's real for every one of us. And it's such a beautiful thing. And there's a I think, um, in the book of Galatians, Paul writes, and he was upset with all these ones that were making it about law and legalism. And it's like, he's like, no, it's not it.
Mm-hmm.
And anyway, I've
Exactly.
just found that so inspiring. And then he also, like, okay, so the law never worked for anyone. It didn't work for our fathers. It doesn't work for you. No one can do this exactly right. And but faith, and hearing by faith, the Spirit comes, the Spirit of God, and it produces this fruit: love and joy and peace, and it's pours out of it. It's like real, and so beautiful. Like, the contrast there of, like, if you try to do this all on your own and you're just following, and you're just doing having laws and regulations and trying to be legal about everything, still what you're going to fight are the works of the flesh, because we're just flesh, we're human, and so all those things. Um, but but if the Spirit of God works, it's so beautiful.
Hmm.
Yeah.
It is. It's so beautiful. It reminds me when you're talking about um, the law versus nobody, it didn't work for anybody. Nobody could do it.
Yeah.
It reminds
Yeah.
me of, I think it was Alistair Beggs talks about, um, I think the sermon is called The Man on the Middle Cross. And he talks about that not accepting grace and doing it by the law, it either results in just tremendous pride or abject despair. Like we either feel like we've nailed it and we're better than everybody else, or we feel like we're horrible and how could Jesus ever love us? But the fact of the
Yeah.
matter is we're saved because of him, Jesus. Jesus did
Yeah.
it. And so
Yeah.
we have neither the horrible pride nor the abject despair. We can just live in joy and peace. And that goes back to the beginning of your story, feeling like he promised this. He promised
Yeah.
peace and joy.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
It's
Yep.
pretty amazing stuff.
It is. It's really, that's why I feel rich. Like I'm starting over it. Nothing, but I don't feel that way because um, I have, yeah, richness. And one thing about the Spirit of God that I love is that it's God's. Like he controls, and there's not a mistake in it. So um, yeah. So then we can't fake this. Like, I guess we can sort of fake the Spirit. We do get confused by that. We get like, well, they're just a really nice person. And people are really good at like acting humble, but actually being incredibly arrogant.
Mm-hmm.
And all those things. And so it's easy for us to be kind of confused about that. But it's like, no, God doesn't make a mistake when He gives His Spirit, and when we have the Spirit of God, it produces fruit. It's not. It's not like, well, maybe it'll work. It does. It does work, and it's real, and it changes people, and it makes them. God's Spirit inside gives these. It's so beautiful. It's really beautiful,
It is really
and it's all
beautiful.
the best things that we all want, like love, and joy, and peace, and all those things in Galatians 5. And so then, one thing I like about this is that um, people can, because people can fake the Spirit, kind of, or um, act. People are good actors. Um, And so people can also say, like, well, I have peace, or I'm so happy, and all those things. And it's like, maybe so. Uh, I, I don't really know for sure because we're also good at acting.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but so they can say, the Spirit told me to do this. But what I love is Jesus being living here on earth. And it's like, if we're doing something that Jesus um, he didn't that he said was wrong, or that he was clear about, and we're doing that and saying the Spirit's leading us to it, we know that that's like a check and balance for us. Like, no, Jesus said this, and we know he's right. So
Mm-hmm.
it helps with the confusion that people put onto things because we're so good at acting.
Mm-hmm.
I should say, uh, some people are. I don't feel like a very good actor, but
Isn't that the root word of hypocrisy?
oh yeah,
Isn't isn't
could be.
acting like I'm pretty sure in Greek that's kind of where the word hypocrite comes from. It's like someone
Well,
that's really good at acting.
you're you're a lot smarter than me with all that
No,
stuff.
no, 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 no. And just so you know, Kelsey, that is going to be cut out. I know I said I wouldn't edit it,
No,
but
no, you need to keep it all the way through. That's what we agreed on.
oh, I'm just going to zip.
No, no,
I'm not going to
no.
let you
It's
trick
good.
me into
It's good.
another.
No, because that's like a double life,
Mm,
and that's what has been so damaging, really.
mhm,
That's what we've um, and like the Bible tells about Satan being a liar, and so any kind of lie, it's not from God. It's any kind of lie. So that's and I've
mhm,
said this to people, like I feel like I'm on this broken record, but it's for me what has become so clear through all of this is what, because I've asked what does God want from me, or and I like what am I, what's my place, what should my life look like, all those questions that come with having your world turned upside down. And it's like love and be honest, and it's so simple. And it's also like, you know what, I can do it. It's not easy. Yeah, but this will go back a bit too. Like one thing about my upbringing that I value so much, my mom was and still is, she's a very perceptive woman. And I was a dumb kid. So I would do something, and then I'd be like, she'd ask, Kelsey, like I remember at convention time, I wasn't supposed to do pine cone fighting. And Post Falls Convention has pine cones, and so us boys, we just throw them at each other until someone gets hurt, you know?
mhm, yeah.
And mom didn't like that because I'd get dirty and I'd get hurt and probably hurt others, of course. And she, no, not okay. So she'd ask when I came in, were you pine cone fighting? And I'm like, no. And she'd say, let me see your hands. And there'd be like little cuts on them. And it's what then what I value is that was not accepted. Lying was worse than if you just said that you had done something wrong. And I think there's a lot of fear in us about facing God Himself and having honesty about that.
Mhm,
Like, um, yeah, because when we're honest and when we look at ourselves, we know like I've got problems, and I haven't done what I know I should have done sometimes. Like I've sinned. I'm a sinner. Um, and so then to go to God and just be completely open about that, like that's the key actually, but it's hard to
mhm,
do
mhm,
because we want to believe that we're like great and
mhm,
all those things.
mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
anyway, I'm glad for
yeah,
my mom and dad with that.
yeah. They sound like wonderful people. Well, Kelsey, this has been amazing.
Thanks.
And
It's good.
what you've shared has been both encouraging and it's made me reflect on myself and on my own story. And it's been it's been full of things that are good for us to hear because we need to be honest and we need to look at
Yeah.
ourselves and we need to be willing to own up
Yeah.
and follow honesty and let no man rule over ourselves, but be in
Yeah.
subjection to our Father.
Right. Yeah.
So,
Yeah. That's anyway. I just feel like there's so many people that I know that want those same things as well. Like they just want honesty. They want to see the love of God,
Hmm.
and I do too. And so
Hmm.
you feel with any of those, with anybody like that, it's like, yeah, there's a fellowship there for me. Like um,
Exactly.
yeah. And
Exactly.
the other thing, um, I yeah, I'm sorry for how this has all been. I'm sorry for the lies that people live, and I'm sorry for the evil that people have done. Um, yeah, and it's been like you can't fix some of those things. Like you can't change it, you can't change that it's happened, but to recognize that it has happened and it's not okay and it's not right and it shouldn't. It's not the way God would want it to be, and it's not acceptable. Um, yeah, like I don't know how to express that, but I just have often felt that like I'm so sorry,
Hmm.
and even for myself, like being a worker for so long, and well, so I was around Mark and and Dean and all these different ones that things have come out, all these different stories, and some evil has been done, and it's like I wish I would have seen. I wish I would have been more vocal or more, yeah, but
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
wasn't, and I'm sorry about that. Like there's just yeah, there's a lot of that you deal with as well. Um, but I don't know. I
Yeah.
just if anybody is watches this and they feel angry and all those things, I understand, and I'm just sorry for what's happened and where we are, and my feeling is like for me, I just want that we get the promises of God that are real, like that He's holding out in love for us, like, and that was one thing that I felt so troubled about by all this is that it's a very very easy, logical, reasonable step for someone to say this person who was supposed to be a servant of God did something evil. Is there even a God? And like that's not a big step because we should be able to see fruit. We should, um, anyway, and that's such a grief to me because there is a God and His Spirit. It's like the most beautiful thing that we could experience in life. The love that is for us, and the Spirit, like what it does inside of us. And I don't want people to miss that. Like that's anyway.
Hmm. Yeah. I agree with you,
Yeah.
Kelsey. Thank you so much for
So
pouring out your heart and sharing your experience and
yeah.
letting us learn from it. I've certainly learned from it. So thank you.
Yep. You're welcome. Thank you, Whitney.